On Saturday the 13th of June 2026, the Glenbrook Vintage Railway ran another mainline excursion with their diesel locomotive DC-4818. This time, they went down to Taumarunui on the main trunk line, and we joined the train in Hamilton. We arrived at Hamilton's Frankton station in plenty of time, but found that A. It was real brass monkey weather, not to mention still a bit foggy, and B. DFB 7335 was already sitting at platform 1 prior to shoving another Te Huia service up to Auckland Strand. This lot went out at 9 o'clock. Five minutes after Te Huia's departure, two of DC-4818's classmates, namely 4058 and 4951, showed up on their way back from Morrinsville. The DCs sat in the rarely used Platform 2 for at least 11 minutes, and as for why they had to stop at a red signal, it was to let DL 9596 pass by with container train MP11 to Tauranga. I didn't record video footage of MP11 because I needed to conserve battery power. Not long after MP11, along came the GVR's excursion to Taumarunui. I was expecting to see DBR 1254 along for the ride as well, and was consequently surprised to see DC 4818 doing the honours all on her own. However, this video won't go without an appearance from a DBR. Soon enough, we were on board the excursion and heading away from Hamilton. Incidentally, we were allocated seats in AL 1991, a 56-foot car van built in 1940. This was the same coach in which I was allocated a seat for the Tauranga to Whatakao excursion back in May. The train stopped in Te Awamutu, as that was where 3 buses were waiting to take passengers over to Mystery Creek for the last day of Fieldays.
Okay folks, we're about to pull into the station at Taumarunui, so just a reminder that we need to be back at the train by 10 past 2. Any belongings that you do leave on the train won't be able to be accessed until that time. So if you do think you want them, best to take them with you. Have a fabulous afternoon everybody, and for those of you that are walking around town, enjoy the sunshine. For those of you that are coming to Bradley's, I'll see you very shortly out on the platform.
DC 4818 didn't hang around on the platform for long, as she had to shunt her coaches over to the yard and get out of the Northern Explorer's way. Meanwhile, one could find a Tommy Percy, of all things, in the Eyesight Information Centre in the station building. I stupidly forgot to put the camera battery onto charge the night before, and unfortunately, the battery snuffed it just after DFB 7023 turned up with the Northern Explorer. It wasn't the end of the world, as I could still use my phone, a Motorola G15 if anyone's curious, to record the rest of the day's footage. I had intended to film DC 4818 going for a spin on the turntable, but that didn't work out because of something else that I ended up seeing in the Taumarunui Rail Action Centre's yard. That something else was quite the pleasant surprise. I knew that DBRs 1213 and 1200 had been stored in Taumarunui since 2024, so I was kind of expecting to see them again. However, at no point throughout the journey down had I thought that, by chance, I'd end up getting there at just the right time to watch DBR 1213's prime mover being started up, nor did I expect to bump into, and have a decent chat with, Mr. McCoy again. I've met him at the Goldfields Railway numerous times over the last 4 years. Meanwhile, one could find a TR920 stored in the former goods shed. This little shunter was built at Hillside Workshops in 1974 and remained in service for quite a long time. More recently, in 2026, kiwirail sold 4 of their hillside TRs off to various preservation groups, with 920 arriving in Taumarunui in late May. Seeing TR 920 again reminded me of the time when I saw her classmate, TR 914, in the small town of Eltham. This was back in October 2016, and Eltham doesn't have a dedicated shunter anymore. I also noticed a large model railway layout in the goods shed, and one item of motive power in particular that stuck out to me was this model of a standard rail car in the class's original livery, as opposed to the more familiar red worn by the preserved RM31. Also of note is the passenger coach SXV 1745. This thing was originally operated by Queensland Rail in Australia, but later brought over to Auckland and used in commuter service alongside refurbished DBR locomotives. One of those DBRs upgraded for Auckland commuter service was DBR 1199, who's now a resident at the Goldfields Railway. I would be remiss if I didn't mention the steamroller that was pottering about in the Taumarunui Rail Action Centre's yard. This thing caught my eye for another reason besides actually being in steam. She bears a strong resemblance to George, an angry anti-rail steamroller from the Railway series, and later the Thomas the Tank Engine telly program. Around 1:30 p.m, DC 4818 shunted her coaches back to the platform ahead of the return trip to Hamilton and Glenbrook. I ended up going to the good old Bakehouse Cafe, across the street from the station, for lunch, and took the seat in AL 1991 once again. By this point in the day, I was feeling pretty tired, and didn't record much footage on the journey back to Hamilton.
be staying on the train and heading back to Glenbrook or Pukekohe and Waiuku with us. Just be advised that the front of car D, I think it is, sorry, E, I should say, front of car E, no, car F, sorry, car F, has our bar, and they're serving hot and cold beverages, pies, and alcoholic beverages such as wine. Got a couple of local beers, and some RTDs if you want to grab one of those. Just maybe wait till we've left Hamilton station so that the team can assist the people off the train before we start serving around the bar again.
All things considered, this was still a successful day, especially with the weather and that surprise startup of DBR 1213's prime mover, not to mention the appearance of EF's 30059 and 30071 with that southbound freight train. Of course, it was good to see DC 4818 in action again. As for how often I'll go out to see mainline excursions again in the future, only time will tell. Here's hoping that the DC can come back to Tauranga at some point.